Zane Marshall had seen many terrible things during his 5 years as a soldier on the northern frontier, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of the orc girl chained to the post in the abandoned trading station. The brand on her shoulder was still pink with healing flesh, a twisted symbol of ownership that made his stomach turn as he approached with cautious steps, his hand instinctively moving to the knife at his belt, not in threat, but in readiness for whoever might have left her here. She was younger than he had first thought, perhaps 20 summers at most, her green skin marred by old scars and fresh bruises that told a story of prolonged suffering. Her tusks were small and delicate for an orc, barely protruding past her lower lip, and her dark hair hung in matted tangles around her face. When she lifted her head to look at him, her amber eyes held no hope, only a weary resignation that cut deeper than any blade. "I have no coin," she said, her voice rough from disuse or screaming. "If you came to buy, you waste your time." Zane lowered himself to a crouch a few feet away, making himself less threatening. "I am not here to buy anything. I am just passing through on my way home. What happened to you?" The orc girl studied him with obvious suspicion, her eyes tracking every movement of his hands. "Does it matter? You will either leave me here or finish what my previous owner started. Humans do not help my kind." "Your previous owner," Zane repeated slowly, his gaze moving to the brand again. The symbol was not one he recognized, but the cruelty of the act itself spoke volumes. "Where is he now?" "Dead." There was no satisfaction in her voice, only emptiness. "Bandits attacked the caravan 3 days ago. They killed the traders and took what they wanted. I suppose I was not worth taking." Zane felt anger rising in his chest, the same righteous fury that had driven him to leave military service after witnessing too many injustices carried out in the name of order. He had retired to a small homestead in the Western Territories specifically to escape the ugliness of mankind, yet here it was again, staring at him through amber eyes that expected nothing but more pain. "I am going to free you," he said quietly, pulling his knife from its sheath. "Please do not run. I mean you no harm." The orc girl flinched when he moved closer, but the chains held her in place. Up close, Zane could see the raw skin around her wrists and ankles where the metal had bitten deep during her struggles. The lock on the chains was simple, designed more for show than true security, and he made quick work of it with the tip of his blade. When the chains fell away, the orc girl did not move immediately. She stared at her freed hands as though they belonged to someone else, her fingers trembling slightly as she flexed them. "Why?" she whispered. "Because it is the right thing to do," Zane answered, stepping back to give her space. "Can you walk?" "There is a stream about half a mile east where you can wash and drink. I have supplies in my pack." She stood slowly, testing her weight on legs that had been forced into one position for too long. Pain flickered across her face, but she did not cry out. "You expect me to believe a human soldier would help an orc out of kindness. What do you truly want?" "Former soldier," Zane corrected gently. "And I want nothing except to see you safe. After that, you are free to go wherever you choose." The orc girl regarded him silently for a long moment, clearly trying to determine if this was some new form of torture. Finally, she gave a slight nod. "I will go to the stream, but I will not turn my back on you." "Fair enough," Zane said, shouldering his pack. He had been traveling for 2 weeks, making his way back to his homestead after selling his harvest in the border towns. The encounter had not been part of his plans, but he could not simply walk away. His conscience, battered as it was from years of war, would not allow it. They made their way through the forest in tense silence, the orc girl keeping a careful distance between them. Zane noticed how she moved despite her injuries, with a natural grace that spoke of strength and training. She had been a warrior once, he guessed, before whatever circumstances had led to her enslavement. At the stream, Zane set down his pack and began pulling out supplies. "There is dried meat, bread, and cheese. Not much, but enough to share. I also have bandages and salve for your wounds." The orc girl knelt by the water's edge and began washing her face and arms with slow, methodical movements. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. "What is your name, human?" "Zane Marshall. And you?" "Kora." She did not offer a family name, and Zane did not press. Among orcs, he knew, family connections could be complicated. "Where is this homestead of yours?" "2 days west, near the edge of the thornwood. I have a small farm there. Vegetables, some chickens, a goat for milk. Nothing fancy, but it is mine and it is peaceful." Kora turned to look at him, water dripping from her face. "You live alone?" "Yes. My family died in the wars. I have no wife, no children." The old pain was distant now, worn smooth by years of grief. "It suits me, the solitude." "Then you are running from something too," Kora observed, her amber eyes too perceptive. "We are not so different, you and I." Zane considered her words as he unwrapped the food, setting it out on a clean cloth between them. "Perhaps not. Though I suspect your reasons for running are far more valid than mine." Kora approached slowly and sat across from him, eyeing the food with obvious hunger but making no move to take it. "You first," she said. "I will not eat until I see you do the same." Understanding her caution, Zane took a piece of bread and ate it, then some cheese. Only after watching him for several moments did Kora reach for the food herself, eating with the controlled desperation of someone who had gone too long without proper meals. They sat in silence as she ate, the only sounds the babbling of the stream and the rustle of wind through the trees. When she had finished, Kora looked at him again. "You said I am free to go where I choose, but we both know I have nowhere to go. My clan cast me out when I was captured. To them, I am already dead." "Then come with me," Zane said, surprising himself with the offer. "Just until you recover your strength and decide what you want to do next. I can use help on the farm, and you will be safer there than wandering alone." Kora's expression hardened. "I will not be your slave. I am not asking you to be. I am offering you work in exchange for food and shelter. If you decide to leave, you leave. No chains, no brands, no ownership." Zane met her gaze steadily. "I give you my word as a man, though I understand if that means nothing to you." The orc girl was quiet for a long time, her fingers unconsciously touching the brand on her shoulder. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "Your word means something. I do not know why, but I believe you." "Then it is settled. We will rest here tonight and start for the homestead in the morning. Your legs need time to recover." Zane began pulling out his bedroll and a spare blanket he had brought for cold nights. "You can use this. I will keep watch first." Kora accepted the blanket with obvious reluctance, as though accepting kindness was somehow shameful. "I can take a watch. I am not helpless." "I did not say you were, but you are injured and exhausted. Let me do this, Kora." She settled against a tree with the blanket wrapped around her shoulders, her eyes never leaving him. "If you try anything while I sleep, I will kill you. I may be weak, but I am still orc." "I would expect nothing less," Zane said with a slight smile. "Rest now. Tomorrow will be a long walk." He watched as she gradually surrendered to sleep, her body finally relaxing after what must have been days of constant vigilance. In the moonlight, she looked even younger, vulnerable in a way that made Zane's protective instincts flare. He had seen too many innocents destroyed by the cruelty of others. If he could save just one, perhaps it would balance some small part of the scales. The night passed without incident, and when dawn broke, they began the journey west. Kora moved stiffly at first, but as her muscles warmed, her stride became more confident. She asked occasional questions about the land they traveled through, and Zane answered, pointing out landmarks and explaining which areas to avoid due to bandits or wild animals. By midday, they stopped to rest and eat more of the dwindling supplies. Kora sat on a fallen log, watching as Zane checked their surroundings out of old habit. "You are very cautious for a farmer," she observed. "Old habits," Zane admitted. "I spent years watching for enemies." "It is hard to forget that training. What did you do in the war?" "I was a scout, mostly. Sometimes I led raids on orc encampments." He saw her stiffen and added quickly, "I am not proud of it. I followed orders because that was what soldiers did. But I saw things, did things, that I cannot forget. When my term of service ended, I left and never looked back." Kora's expression was unreadable. "Did you kill many of my people?" "Yes. There was no point in lying. And they killed many of mine. War is ugly, Kora. There are no heroes in it, only survivors and the dead. Yet you help me now. How do I know this is not some trick, that you will not turn me in for a reward?" Zane met her eyes. "You do not know. You have to decide whether to trust me or not. But I will tell you this, I have spent 5 years trying to be a better man than I was during the war. I will not go back to being that person, not for any reward." Something in his voice must have convinced her, because Kora nodded slowly. "Then I will trust you, Zane Marshall. For now." They reached the homestead late the following afternoon. It was a modest place, just as Zane had described. A small wooden cabin with a vegetable garden, a chicken coop, and a pen where a brown goat grazed contentedly. The land around it had been cleared but not extensively, leaving plenty of forest nearby for hunting and foraging. Kora stood at the edge of the property, taking it all in. "This is yours, all of it, such as it is. The cabin needs repairs before winter, and the garden could be bigger, but it serves my needs." Zane led her inside, where a single room held a bed, a table, 2 chairs, a fireplace, and shelves lined with basic supplies. "You can have the bed. I will make a pallet on the floor." "I will not take your bed," Kora protested. "You need it more than I do. Please do not argue. You are still healing." Kora looked around the cabin, her expression softening. "This is a good place, quiet, safe." That was the idea. Zane set down his pack and began building a fire. "There is a wash basin outside if you want to clean up properly. I also have some clothes that might fit you, though they will be too large." "Anything is better than these rags," Kora said, gesturing to the torn and filthy remnants of what had once been a simple tunic and trousers. Zane found an old shirt and a pair of trousers, handing them to her with some twine to use as a belt. While she went outside to wash and change, he prepared a simple meal of porridge and vegetables from the garden. When she returned, dressed in his clothes with her hair wet and combed back from her face, he was struck by how different she looked. The hardness was still there, the wariness in her eyes, but there was also something else, a flicker of hope, perhaps, or at least the possibility of it. They ate in companionable silence, and afterward, Zane showed her around the property, explaining his daily routines and what needed to be done. Kora listened intently, occasionally asking questions that showed her intelligence and adaptability. As the sun set, they returned to the cabin. Zane banked the fire and prepared his pallet on the floor while Kora stood awkwardly by the bed. "I am not used to this," she admitted quietly. "Used to what? Kindness, safety, not having to watch my back every moment." She touched the brand on her shoulder again, a gesture that seemed to have become unconscious. "My owner used to say that orcs were animals, that we did not deserve comfort or dignity. After a while, I started to believe him." Zane felt anger rise again at the nameless dead man who had done this to her. He was wrong. "You are not an animal, Kora. You are a person who deserves to be treated with respect. Tears welled in her amber eyes, but she blinked them away furiously. "Why do you care? You do not know me. You owe me nothing. Because everyone deserves a chance at a better life, and because I see something in you worth saving." Zane kept his voice gentle. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we will start fresh." Kora climbed into the bed slowly, as though afraid it might disappear if she moved too quickly. She pulled the blanket up to her chin and watched as Zane settled on his pallet. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. You are welcome. Sleep well, Kora." In the darkness, Zane listened to her breathing slow and deepen as she fell asleep. He thought about the strange turn his life had taken in just a few days. He had gone into the world alone, expecting to return the same way. Instead, he had brought back a broken orc girl who needed healing in ways that went far beyond the physical. It was a responsibility he had not asked for, but one he would not shirk. Something told him that Kora's arrival in his life was not mere chance, but the beginning of something neither of them could yet understand. The first weeks passed in a careful dance of boundaries and gradual trust. Kora threw herself into the work of the farm with fierce determination, as though trying to prove her worth through sheer effort. She learned quickly, mastering tasks that Zane had expected would take much longer to teach. She gathered eggs from the chickens without frightening them, tended the garden with surprising gentleness, and even managed to coax more milk from the stubborn goat than Zane had ever achieved. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire and talk. Kora spoke little of her time as a slave, but she shared fragments of her life before: how she had been a hunter in her clan, skilled with bow and spear, how she had dreamed of proving herself in battle, how everything had changed the day human raiders attacked during a hunt and took her prisoner. "They sold me at a market like I was livestock," she said one night, staring into the flames. "The man who bought me said he needed workers for his caravan. He lied. What he wanted was something to break, to prove his power over. I think he hated orcs, and hurting me made him feel strong." Zane's hands clenched around his cup. "I am sorry that happened to you. No one deserves that. It is the way of the world. Humans hate orcs, orcs hate humans. We have been at war for so long that hate is all most of us know." Kora looked at him. "You are different, though. You do not hate." "I am tired of hating. It solves nothing and costs everything." Zane set down his cup. "When I was in the army, I had friends who died hating the enemy right up until the end. It did not save them. It did not make their deaths meaningful. It just left them bitter and angry." "What would you choose instead?" "Understanding. Peace. A world where humans and orcs can live without trying to destroy each other." He smiled ruefully. "Foolish dreams, I know." "Perhaps," Kora said softly, "but they are good dreams." As summer deepened into early autumn, the dynamic between them began to shift in ways both subtle and profound. Zane found himself watching Kora as she worked, noticing the play of muscle beneath her green skin, the way sunlight caught in her dark hair, the rare smiles that transformed her face from merely pretty to beautiful. He felt guilty for these thoughts, wondering if his attention made him no better than her previous owner, but he could not seem to stop them. Kora, for her part, seemed to be wrestling with her own confusion. She would sometimes catch herself standing too close to Zane, or letting her hand linger when passing him tools, or watching him with an expression that held more than simple gratitude. These moments always ended with her pulling away sharply, as though reminding herself of some invisible boundary. The tension came to a head one afternoon when they were repairing the chicken coop together. Zane was holding a board in place while Kora hammered in nails, working in the comfortable rhythm they had developed over weeks of collaboration. A nail slipped and Kora cursed, dropping the hammer to examine her thumb. "Let me see," Zane said, reaching for her hand without thinking. Kora jerked away as though burned. "Do not touch me." The vehemence of her reaction shocked them both. Zane stepped back immediately, raising his hands. "I am sorry, I was only trying to help." Kora stood trembling, her injured thumb forgotten. I know you were, but I cannot when people touch me, I remember," she broke off, shaking her head. "It does not matter." "It does matter," Zane said gently. "Kora, I would never hurt you. You know that, do you not?" "My mind knows it, but my body remembers other hands, other intentions." She looked at him with anguished eyes. "I want to trust you completely. I do trust you, but something inside me still flinches." Understanding flooded through Zane, along with a deep sadness for all that had been taken from her. "Then we will go at your pace. No touching unless you initiate it. I will not even reach for you and help unless you ask for it first. Does that work?" Kora nodded slowly, relief visible on her face. "Yes, thank you for understanding." They returned to work in silence, but something had changed. The unspoken thing between them had been acknowledged, even if neither was ready to name it yet. Zane continued to honor his promise, keeping careful distance, while Kora began to test the boundaries in small ways, standing closer than necessary, brushing against him accidentally on purpose, watching him with thoughtful eyes when she thought he was not looking. The first frost came in late October, and with it, a problem. Zane went out to the well one morning to find the bucket frozen solid to the surface. As he worked to break it free, he heard Kora's voice call out in alarm from near the tree line. He ran toward the sound, knife in hand, to find Kora facing down a young wolf that had wandered too close to the property. The animal was thin and desperate, probably driven from its pack, and it eyed the chickens with obvious hunger. "Do not move," Zane said quietly, positioning himself between Kora and the wolf. "Back away slowly toward the cabin." "I am not leaving you alone with that thing," Kora hissed. "I have dealt with wolves before. Please, Kora, go." But before either could move, the wolf lunged. Zane threw himself to the side, slashing with his knife, but the blade only caught air. The wolf recovered quickly, circling for another attack when suddenly Kora was there, armed with a thick branch she had snatched from the ground. "Together," she said, taking position at Zane's side. They faced the wolf as a unit, and perhaps it was the combined threat that finally convinced the animal to retreat. It backed away slowly, then turned and disappeared into the forest. Zane and Kora stood breathing hard, adrenaline still pumping through their veins. "You should have gone to the cabin," Zane said, but there was no heat in his words. "And leave you to face danger alone. Never." Kora dropped the branch, then did something that surprised them both. She reached out and took his hand, squeezing it briefly before letting go. "We are a team now. That means we protect each other." The simple touch, freely given for the first time, sent warmth flooding through Zane's chest. "A team," he repeated softly. "I like that." From that day forward, something deepened between them. Kora became more comfortable with casual physical proximity, and eventually, even with deliberate touches, a hand on his arm to get his attention, a shoulder bump when he made her laugh, sitting close enough by the fire that their knees touched. Each gesture was a small victory over her past trauma, and Zane treasured them all. Winter arrived in earnest, bringing snow and cold that kept them inside more often than not. They spent long evenings by the fire, talking, playing simple games with carved wooden pieces, or working on indoor projects like mending clothes and tools. The enforced closeness revealed new facets of each other's personalities. Zane discovered that Kora had a dry sense of humor and a talent for storytelling. Kora learned that Zane was surprisingly skilled at carving, and that he had a beautiful singing voice he rarely used. One particularly cold night, Kora asked him to sing for her. Zane felt self-conscious but complied. choosing an old ballad his mother had taught him about star-crossed lovers from warring families. His voice filled the small cabin, rich and warm, and when he finished, he looked up to find Kora staring at him with an expression he could not quite read. "That was beautiful," she said. "Sad but beautiful. It is an old story. I am not sure anyone remembers where it came from originally. Do you think they found happiness in the end, the lovers? The song does not say. I like to think they did, though." Zane poked at the fire with a stick. "I like to believe that love can overcome even the deepest divides." Kora was quiet for a moment. "Zane, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you look at me, what do you see?" He considered his answer carefully, knowing it mattered. "I see a strong woman who has survived terrible things. I see someone intelligent and capable and kind, despite every reason not to be. I see Kora." He paused. "Why do you ask?" "Because when I look in the mirror, sometimes I still see what he told me I was. An animal, a thing, something marked and broken and worthless." Her hand went to her shoulder, to the brand beneath her shirt. "This mark reminds me every day of what I was, what I might still be in the eyes of the world." Zane set down the stick and turned to face her fully. "You are not broken. You are healing. There is a difference. And that mark does not define you, Kora. It is something that was done to you, not something you are." "I wish I could believe that." "Then let me believe it for both of us until you can believe it yourself." Kora's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "How are you so patient with me?" "I am difficult and damaged, and you are perfect exactly as you are," Zane interrupted gently. "And I am patient because you are worth it. You have always been worth it." The tears spilled over then, and before Zane could second-guess himself, he opened his arms in invitation. Kora hesitated only a moment before moving into his embrace, burying her face against his chest as she cried. He held her carefully, offering comfort without constraint, letting her take what she needed. When the tears finally subsided, Kora pulled back slightly, though she did not leave the circle of his arms. "I am sorry," she murmured. "Do not apologize for feeling. You have held too much inside for too long." Zane reached up slowly, telegraphing his movement, and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. "Better." "Yes." She looked up at him, and suddenly the air between them felt charged with possibility. "Zane, I think a loud bang on the cabin door made them both jump apart. Zane was on his feet instantly, knife in hand, as a gruff voice called from outside. "Open up. We know someone is in there." Zane moved to the door cautiously, with Kora right behind him. Through the small window, he could see 3 men standing in the snow, armed with swords and rough-looking. Bandits, most likely, or deserters from some army. "What do you want?" Zane called through the door. "Food, shelter, maybe some coin if you have it," the leader replied. "Open the door and nobody gets hurt." "I have little of any of those things. Move along and find easier prey." One of the men laughed nastily. "We will be the judges of that. Open up or we break it down." Zane looked at Kora, who had armed herself with an iron poker from the fireplace. Her eyes were hard, all traces of her earlier vulnerability gone. She looked like the warrior she had once been, ready to fight. "There are 3 of them," Zane said quietly. "If it comes to a fight, stay behind me. We are a team, remember?" Kora moved to his side. "We face this together." Before Zane could respond, the men began hammering on the door with something heavy. The wood, already old, began to splinter. Zane made a quick decision. "When they come through, I will take the leader. You handle whoever comes in second. Can you do that?" "Yes." The door burst open and the bandits rushed in, clearly expecting easy victims. They were not prepared for Zane's immediate attack, his knife finding the leader's sword arm before the man could fully enter. The bandit screamed and fell back, blood streaming as the second man charged at Kora. She met him with the poker. using it like a staff to block his swing and then jabbing it hard into his stomach. When he doubled over, she brought it down on his back, sending him crashing to the floor. The third man, seeing his companions injured, hesitated in the doorway. "Leave now and live," Zane said, his knife pointed at the man's throat. "Stay and join your friends bleeding in the snow." The third man grabbed the injured leader and dragged him away. The second bandit scrambled after them, clutching his ribs. They disappeared into the darkness, and Zane quickly barred the damaged door with the table. "That will not hold if they come back with reinforcements," he said, breathing hard. "Then we need to be ready." Kora was checking the window, her body still tensed for battle. "Do you think they will return? Maybe, if they think we have something worth dying for, we should take turns on watch tonight." They spent a tense night, but the bandits did not return. By morning, Zane and Kora were exhausted but unhurt. As they worked to repair the door with boards and nails, Kora said, "You fought well last night. I was impressed. You were not so bad yourself. That move with the poker was expertly done. My father taught me to use a staff before I could walk. The poker was just a smaller version." She smiled at the memory. "He said that warriors must use whatever weapons come to hand. Your father sounds like a wise man. He was. He died defending our clan from raiders. I always wanted to make him proud, to be the kind of warrior he was." Her smile faded. "I failed at that." Zane stopped working and looked at her. "You did not fail, you survived. That takes more courage than dying in battle." I am not sure he would see it that way. Orc culture values honor above all else. Being captured, enslaved, those are shameful things. That is why my clan cast me out. I brought dishonor to them by living when I should have died fighting. "Then your clan was wrong," Zane said firmly. "There is no shame in surviving. There is no honor in needless death. Your father would be proud that you are still here, still fighting in your own way." Kora looked at him with such gratitude that it made his chest ache. "Thank you for saying that. Even if it is not true, it helps to hear it. It is true. I would stake my life on it." They finished the repairs in comfortable silence, and as the days passed, the incident seemed to have brought them even closer. Kora began seeking out Zane's company deliberately, sitting near him while they worked, talking more freely about her feelings and fears. Zane, in turn, opened up about his own struggles, the nightmares that still plagued him from the war, the loneliness that had driven him to isolation, the fear that he would never truly escape his past. "We are both running from ghosts," Kora observed one evening as they prepared dinner together. "Perhaps that is why we understand each other. Perhaps. Or perhaps we are meant to help each other lay those ghosts to rest." Zane stirred the pot of stew, watching steam rise in lazy curls. "I have been happier these past months than I have been in years, Kora. You have given me purpose again. You have given me something more precious, hope. Before you, I thought my life was over. That the best I could expect was to survive from one day to the next, always waiting for the next cruelty, the next pain." She moved closer, close enough that he could feel her warmth. "You showed me that there could be more, that I could be more than what was done to me." Zane set down the spoon and turned to face her. "Kora, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" He took a breath, gathering courage. "These feelings I have for you, they have grown into something I did not expect. Something deeper than friendship or gratitude. I think I am falling in love with you. Perhaps I have been for some time now." Kora's eyes widened, and for a terrible moment, Zane thought he had made a catastrophic mistake. But then her face softened into the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. "I feel it too. I was afraid to name it, afraid that saying it aloud would make it disappear like a dream. But it is real, is it not? As real as anything I have ever felt." Zane reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face gently. "May I kiss you, please?" she whispered. Their first kiss was soft and tentative, a question asked and answered. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Kora rested her forehead against his, her arms coming up to wrap around his waist. "I never thought I could feel this way," she said. "I thought that part of me was dead, killed by everything that happened, but you brought it back to life." "We brought it back together," Zane corrected. "You did the hard work of healing, Kora. I just gave you a safe place to do it." They stood holding each other as the stew bubbled forgotten on the fire, wrapped in warmth and possibility. The future was uncertain, Zane knew. The world outside would not approve of their love. Humans would see him as a traitor to his kind, and orcs would see Kora as weak or traitorous for loving a human. But in this moment, in this small cabin on the edge of the wilderness, none of that mattered. The winter deepened, and with it, their relationship blossomed. They learned each other's bodies slowly and carefully, with Kora setting the pace. Zane was patient and gentle, always asking permission, always watching for signs of discomfort. The first time they made love, Kora cried afterward, but they were tears of joy and release. "I did not think I could ever let someone touch me this way again," she confessed as they lay tangled together in the narrow bed. "But with you, it feels right. It feels like reclaiming something that was stolen from me." "You are the bravest person I have ever known," Zane said, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Thank you for trusting me with this. Thank you for being worthy of that trust." They fell into an easy domestic rhythm, working the farm together, planning for spring planting, living as though the outside world did not exist. But reality has a way of intruding on even the happiest isolation. In early March, as the snows began to melt, a group of travelers appeared on the road near the homestead. Zane was in the garden when he spotted them, and something about the way they carried themselves made his old soldier instincts flare to life. He called for Kora, who came out of the cabin wiping her hands on a cloth. "What is wrong, soldiers, coming this way?" Zane counted quickly. "About a dozen of them, armed and armored. This is not a casual patrol." Kora's face went pale. "Do you think they know about me?" "I do not know. But we should be prepared for trouble." He squeezed her hand. "Stay in the cabin. Let me handle this." "Zane, please, Kora. If they are looking for escaped slaves or fugitive orcs, having you visible will only make things worse. Trust me." Reluctantly, Kora retreated inside while Zane positioned himself in the yard, trying to look like nothing more than a simple farmer disturbed during his work. The soldiers approached in formation, led by a captain with graying hair and a face weathered by years of service. "Good day," the captain called out. "We are conducting searches in this area. Have you seen any orcs pass through recently?" Zane kept his expression neutral. "I am alone out here, sir. I do not get many visitors of any kind. What is this about?" "There have been reports of orc raiding parties attacking settlements to the east. We are tracking them." The captain's eyes swept over the property, taking in every detail. "You are certain you have seen nothing unusual?" "Nothing at all. As I said, I keep to myself." "This is not exactly a high-traffic area." The captain nodded slowly, but his gaze lingered on the cabin. "Mind if we take a look around, just to be thorough?" Zane's heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. "I would prefer you did not. This is my property, and I value my privacy." "I am afraid I must insist. Under martial authority, we have the right to search any structure for threats to human settlements." The captain signaled to his men, who began moving toward the cabin. "Wait," Zane said, stepping into their path. "There is someone inside. She is not a threat. She—" The captain's eyes narrowed. "Who is she?" Before Zane could answer, Kora emerged from the cabin. She held no weapons and had clearly dressed in her best clothes, trying to look as non-threatening as possible. But there was no disguising what she was. The soldiers' hands went to their weapons immediately. "Stand down," the captain ordered his men, though his own hand rested on his sword hilt. He looked at Zane with a mixture of confusion and disgust. "You harbor an orc. Are you mad?" "She is not part of any raiding party," Zane said quickly. "She has been living here peacefully for months. She helps me with the farm. She is no danger to anyone." "All orcs are a danger," one of the younger soldiers spat. "We should kill it now and be done with it." "She is not in it," Zane snapped, his temper flaring. "Her name is Kora, and she is under my protection." The captain studied them both, his expression unreadable. "Under your protection, I see. And does she bear any marks of ownership?" Kora flinched at the question, but she met the captain's gaze steadily. "I was owned once. No longer." "Zane freed me. Show me," the captain commanded with visible reluctance. Kora pulled down the shoulder of her shirt, revealing the brand. The soldiers muttered among themselves, some with pity, most with suspicion. The captain's face softened slightly. "That is Corvin's mark. I heard he died in a bandit attack last year." He looked at Zane. "You freed her from Corvin. I found her chained and abandoned. I could not leave her like that." "So you brought her here and kept her as your own?" "No," Kora interjected. "He offered me work and shelter with no strings attached. Everything between us is by my choice. He has never forced me to do anything against my will." The captain's eyebrows rose. "Everything between you? Exactly what is the nature of your relationship?" Zane stepped closer to Kora, taking her hand openly. "We are partners, in every sense of the word. I love her, and she loves me." The soldiers erupted in shocked exclamations, several making warding signs as though confronted by evil magic. The captain held up a hand for silence. "That is a dangerous thing to admit, Marshall. There are laws against such relationships in many territories." "We are not in those territories. We are on my land, living our lives, bothering no one." Zane's voice was firm. "We have committed no crimes." "The crime is an abomination against nature," the young soldier from before snarled. "Humans and orcs were not meant to mix." "This is enough," the captain cut him off. He looked at Zane and Kora for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he sighed. "I fought in the wars, Marshall. I killed orcs and watched them kill my friends. I have every reason to hate them. But I have also seen enough death to last several lifetimes, and I am tired of adding to it needlessly." "Sir," the young soldier looked confused. "We came looking for raiders, not lovers. This orc is clearly not part of any raiding party. She has been here for months, you said, living peacefully." "Yes, sir," Zane confirmed. "Then as far as I am concerned, we found nothing here worth reporting, just a farmer living alone in the wilderness." The captain turned to his men. "We move on. The trail continues east." Some of the soldiers looked like they wanted to protest, but military discipline held. They began assembling back into formation. The captain paused before leaving, looking back at Kora. "For what it is worth, I am sorry for what was done to you. No one deserves that, orc or human. I hope you find peace here." Kora's eyes widened in surprise. "Thank you, Captain. Do not thank me. Just stay out of sight and do not give anyone reason to come looking. The next group that finds you may not be so understanding." With that warning, the captain led his troops away. Zane and Kora stood watching until the soldiers disappeared from view. Only then did Kora let out the breath she had been holding. "That was too close. We were fortunate he was a reasonable man." "Fortunate, yes, but his warning was valid. We need to be more careful, Kora. If word spreads that there is an orc living here, I know. People will come, people who are not reasonable." She looked up at him, worry clear in her amber eyes. "Maybe I should leave, Zane. Go somewhere far away where my presence will not put you in danger." "No." The word came out more forcefully than he intended. "I am not losing you. We will be careful, keep a low profile, but you are not leaving. This is your home as much as mine. But if something happened to you because of me, then it would be my choice to face that risk, just as staying is your choice." Zane pulled her close. "We are in this together, remember. Whatever comes, we face it as a team." Kora buried her face in his chest. "I am afraid, Zane. Afraid that the world will not let us have this happiness. Then we will fight for it. We will fight for every day, every moment, and we will build a life so full of love that the world's hatred cannot touch it." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face, and pulled him down for a fierce kiss. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. "I love you," Kora whispered, "more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. I love you too, always." They went back into the cabin and spent the rest of the day holding each other, drawing comfort and strength from their closeness. That night, as they lay in bed, Kora spoke into the darkness. "The brand," she said. "I hate it. I hate what it represents, what it reminds me of every time I see it. But I do not know how to be free of it." Zane was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then an idea came to him. "What if we changed it? Not removed it, but transformed it into something else, something that represents who you are now instead of what was done to you? How, we could add to it. Create a new design that incorporates the old mark but gives it new meaning. I have seen tattoo artists do such things. I am no expert, but I could try." Kora turned to face him in the darkness. "You would do that for me. I would do anything for you, but only if it is what you want." She considered for a long time. "Yes, I think I would like that, to take something meant to mark me as property and turn it into something beautiful, something mine." Over the next several weeks, Zane practiced sketching designs, showing them to Kora until they found one she loved, a pattern of vines and flowers that grew around and through the old brand, transforming the harsh lines into something organic and alive. The center would be a small tree, its roots covering the worst of the scar tissue. When Zane was confident in his ability, he prepared inks from plants and minerals, mixing them carefully according to instructions he remembered from a tattooed friend in his army days. The actual process was painful, and Kora had to take frequent breaks, but she never asked him to stop. She bore the pain with quiet courage, trusting him completely. When it was finally finished, Zane held up a mirror so Kora could see. She stared at the new design for a long time, tears streaming silently down her face. "It is beautiful," she whispered. Thank you for giving me this." "You gave it to yourself," Zane said, cleaning his tools. "You chose to transform your pain into something meaningful. I just helped with the technical aspects." Kora touched the new tattoo gently, wincing slightly at the tenderness. "When I look at this, I will remember not what was taken from me, but what I built from the ruins. I will remember you and this place, and the life we are creating together." Spring arrived in full force, bringing warmth and new growth. Kora's shoulder healed beautifully, the new tattoo settling into her skin like it had always been there. They planted the garden together, twice as large as the previous year, and Zane taught Kora to fish in the stream that ran through the property. Life fell into a rhythm that felt almost perfect, but perfection, Zane had learned, was always temporary. One afternoon in late May, Kora was returning from checking snares in the forest when she froze at the edge of the clearing. A group of orcs stood in front of the cabin, talking to Zane. She recognized the tribal markings immediately. They were from her former clan. She approached slowly, her heart pounding. The orcs turned to look at her, and the tallest one, a warrior named Gorlin who had once been her friend, sneered. "Kora, we heard rumors that you still lived. I did not believe them until now. What do you want, Gorlin?" Kora kept her voice steady, though fear coursed through her. "We came to see if the rumors were true, that you live here with a human, that you have forsaken your people for our ancient enemy." Gorland's eyes swept over her, taking in her clean clothes, her healthy appearance, the clear signs of happiness. "It is true, then. You have become a traitor." "I have become free," Kora corrected. "This human saved me when my clan abandoned me to die in chains. He gave me shelter when I had nowhere else to go. He offered me a life when I thought I had none left. He made you his whore," another orc spat. "You bring shame to all orcs with this abomination." Zane stepped forward, his hand on his knife. "Speak respectfully or leave." "This is my land and Kora is my partner. You have no authority here." Gorland laughed, a harsh sound. "Your partner. Do you hear this, brothers? The human thinks an orc can be his equal. He knows nothing of our ways." "Perhaps I know nothing of your ways," Zane said evenly, "but I know Kora. I know her strength, her courage, her kindness. Those things have nothing to do with whether she is orc or human. They are simply who she is." "Pretty words from a pretty fool." Gorland turned back to Kora. "You have a choice, Kora. Return with us now, and we will petition the clan elders to allow you back. You will have to prove yourself, undergo trials to cleanse the shame, but you could be one of us again. Or stay here with this human and be forever cast out, an enemy to your own people." Kora looked at the orcs, at the life she had once known, and felt a wave of complicated emotions. Part of her longed for the familiarity of her clan, the sense of belonging to something larger. But a larger part of her knew that life was gone forever, even if she returned. She was not the same person who had been captured all those months ago. She had changed, grown, found a different kind of strength. "I have made my choice," she said clearly. "My place is here with Zane. If that makes me a traitor in your eyes, so be it. I would rather be a traitor who chooses her own path than a warrior who follows blindly." Gorland's face darkened with rage. "Then you are no longer clan. You are not orc. You are nothing." "She is everything," Zane said quietly. "She is brave and beautiful and worthy of love. Your opinion does not change that. You think yourself wise, human? You have signed both your death warrants. When the clan hears of this, they will send warriors. Real warriors, not a messenger party. They will burn this place to the ground and take Kora's head as a warning to other would-be traitors. Then we will face them when they come," Kora said, moving to stand beside Zane. "Together." The orcs left, disappearing into the forest with dark mutterings and hostile glances. When they were gone, Kora turned to Zane. "They will do as they threatened. My clan does not make idle promises. How long do we have? Days, perhaps a week. They will need to report back, and the elders will need to decide on a course of action. But they will come, Zane. And when they do, we cannot fight an entire war party," Zane thought quickly. "Then we do not fight. We leave. We take what we can carry and head west to territories beyond the clan's usual range. We start over somewhere new. You would abandon your home, everything you built here." "This is just a place, Kora. You are my home now. Wherever we go together, that is where I belong." He cupped her face gently. "Besides, I am good at starting over. I have done it before." Tears filled Kora's eyes. "I am sorry. I brought this trouble to your door. You brought joy to my life. Everything else is just details." He kissed her softly. "Now come on. We have packing to do." They spent the next 2 days preparing for the journey, taking only what they could carry and what would be most useful for survival in the wilderness. Zane killed and smoked the chickens, packed seeds from the garden, and filled water skins. Kora gathered medicinal herbs, weapons, and supplies for making shelter. They worked with quiet efficiency, speaking little but drawing comfort from each other's presence. On the 3rd day, as dawn broke, they took one last look at the homestead. Zane felt a pang of regret for the life he was leaving behind, but when he looked at Kora, that regret transformed into determination. They would build something new, something even better, because they would build it together. They headed west, moving quickly but carefully, always alert for signs of pursuit. For 5 days they traveled, camping in hidden spots, covering their tracks as best they could. On the 6th day, as they crested a hill, they saw something that made them both stop in amazement. Spread out below them was a valley unlike any Zane had ever seen. A river cut through it, broad and clear, and the land on both sides was rich with vegetation. But what caught his attention were the structures, a small settlement of mixed construction, some buildings showing human architecture, others clearly built by orc methods. "What is this place?" Kora breathed. "I do not know, but let us find out." As they descended into the valley, they were met by a patrol, 2 humans and an orc, working together. The orc, a female with graying hair and a scarred face, studied them carefully. "Travelers?" she asked. "Refugees," Zane corrected. "We are looking for a place to start over. Away from people who would rather see us dead than living in peace." The older orc's eyes moved between them, understanding dawning. "A mixed couple. We have seen a few come through here over the years, running from clans and armies who think love has rules about species." "You mean there are others?" Kora asked, hope rising in her voice. "Not many, but enough. This valley is called Haven, though that is a name we gave ourselves, not one you will find on any map. We are outcasts, refugees, and rebels who believe there is a better way than endless war." The orc gestured to her human companions. "We have built something here, a place where orc and human can live together without fear or hatred. It is not perfect and we still struggle, but it is ours." Zane and Kora looked at each other, hardly daring to believe what they were hearing. "Could we stay?" Zane asked. "We can work, contribute. We just need a chance to live our lives in peace." The orc smiled, and it transformed her stern face into something warm. "We always have room for those brave enough to choose love over tradition. Welcome to Haven. My name is Urka, and these are my partners, Daniel and Marcus. Come, we will show you around and find you a place to settle." As they followed Urka into the settlement, Kora grabbed Zane's hand and squeezed it tightly. He squeezed back, understanding flowing between them without words. They had found it a place where they could be themselves, where their love was not a scandal but simply a fact, where the future stretched out before them full of possibility instead of danger. Over the following weeks, they settled into life in Haven. They were given a small plot of land near the river where they began building a new home, this time with the help of their neighbors. The community welcomed them warmly, and they soon made friends among both the human and orc residents. Zane discovered that many of the settlers had stories similar to their own forbidden love, rejection by their people, the desperate search for somewhere they could belong. There was a human woman named Sarah who had fallen in love with an orc healer named Thrak, and they now ran the settlement's medical house together. An orc warrior named Drak had saved a human farmer from bandits and ended up falling for him, and now they raised sheep on the hillside. Each couple had faced hardship and overcome it, choosing love despite the cost. Kora thrived in this environment. For the first time since her capture, she was surrounded by people who understood her completely, who did not judge her for her choices. She began training some of the younger orcs in fighting techniques, finding purpose in passing on her father's teachings. She also spent time with the human children, helping them learn to see orcs not as monsters but as people. Zane threw himself into building their home, making it larger than the previous cabin, with room for a future he could now imagine clearly. He worked alongside orc and human laborers, learning from both, combining techniques to create something unique. The house became a symbol of their life, 2 different approaches blending into something stronger than either alone. One evening, As they sat on the porch of their nearly finished home watching the sun set over the valley, Kora turned to Zane. "I need to ask you something. Anything. In my clan, when two people decided to commit their lives to each other, there was a ceremony. A bonding ritual. I know humans have something similar, marriage, you call it. Would you want to do something like that? Make our commitment official?" Zane's heart swelled with emotion. "I would like nothing more. But how would we do it? Our cultures have different traditions. Then we create our own tradition, something that honors both our backgrounds while being uniquely ours." Kora smiled. "We are good at that, blending the best of both worlds." They spent the next month planning their ceremony, working with Urka and other community elders who had experience in such matters. The ritual they designed incorporated elements from both human and orc traditions, hand fasting from human custom, blood bonding from orc practice, vows spoken before witnesses from both species, and a feast that celebrated their union with foods from both cultures. The ceremony took place on a warm day in early autumn, exactly 1 year after Zane had found Kora chained in the abandoned trading station. Nearly the entire settlement gathered by the river to witness their vows. Urka officiated, her strong voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "We gather today to celebrate the union of Zane Marshall and Kora, two souls who have chosen to bind their lives together in love and partnership. Their journey has not been easy. They have faced prejudice, danger, and loss, but through it all, they have remained true to each other and to themselves. That kind of love deserves to be honored." Zane and Kora stood facing each other, hands clasped. Zane spoke first, his voice strong and clear. "Kora, when I found you a year ago, I was a man running from his past, afraid to hope for a better future. You changed everything. You showed me that courage is not about fighting battles, but about being vulnerable enough to love. You taught me that home is not a place, but a person. I promise to stand by your side through every challenge, to honor your strength while supporting you in your weaknesses, to build a life with you that neither of us could create alone. I love you with everything I am and everything I hope to be." Kora's voice trembled slightly with emotion as she responded. "Zane, you saw me at my lowest moment, broken and branded, and you looked past all of that to the person I could become. You gave me freedom, safety, and love when I thought I would never experience any of those things again. You helped me reclaim myself, to transform my pain into strength. I promise to be your partner in all things, to love you fiercely and completely, to fight for our future even when others tell us it is impossible. You are my home, my heart, and my hope. I love you beyond words." They performed the blood bonding next, each making a small cut on their palms and pressing them together, symbolizing the mingling of their lives. Then they wrapped their joined hands with a length of cloth in the human tradition of hand fasting, while Urka spoke blessings in both the human and orc languages. When the ceremony concluded, and Urka pronounced them bonded in the eyes of both peoples, the crowd erupted in cheers. Zane pulled Kora close and kissed her deeply, not caring who watched or what anyone thought. This moment was theirs, a celebration of everything they had overcome to reach this point. The feast that followed lasted well into the night, with music and dancing and enough food to feed everyone twice over. Zane watched Kora laugh and dance with their friends, her face radiant with joy, and felt a peace settle over him that he had never experienced before. This was what happiness looked like, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of love strong enough to make that struggle worthwhile. As the celebration wound down and people began drifting home, Zane and Kora walked back to their house hand in hand. The building was finished now, complete with a large bed, a fireplace, shelves for their belongings, and windows that let in the morning sun. It was everything they needed and nothing more. "Happy?" Zane asked as they stood in their new home. "Happier than I ever imagined possible," Kora replied, wrapping her arms around him. "A year ago, I thought my life was over. I could not see any future worth living. And now look at us married, building a life in a community that accepts us, surrounded by friends and possibility. We have come a long way, we have, but the journey is not over yet." Kora pulled back slightly, a mysterious smile on her face. "There is something else I need to tell you, something I discovered a few weeks ago but wanted to wait until today to share." "What is it?" "I am with child, Zane. We are going to have a baby." For a moment, Zane could not speak. Joy and terror and wonder crashed over him in equal measure. A child. They were going to have a child, a living symbol of their love, a bridge between two worlds, a new life to protect and nurture. "Are you certain?" He finally managed. "Very certain. Sarah confirmed it. I am about 2 months along." Kora searched his face anxiously. "I know we have not discussed this. Are you happy?" Happy did not begin to cover what he felt. Zane lifted Kora off her feet and spun her around, laughing with pure delight. "Happy? I am ecstatic. Terrified, but ecstatic. We are going to be parents," Kora laughed too, holding on tight. "I was so afraid you might not be ready. It is complicated enough for a human and an orc to be together. Adding a child makes it even more beautiful and meaningful. Our child will be proof that love can bridge any divide." Zane set her down gently, his hand moving to rest on her still flat stomach. "We will teach them the best of both our cultures. They will grow up knowing they are loved and valued exactly as they are. They will have a good life here in Haven, surrounded by people who understand what it means to be caught between worlds." Kora covered his hand with hers. "This is what I wanted to tell you on our bonding day, that our future is not just about us anymore. We are creating something bigger, a family, a legacy, a reason for all our struggles." They went to bed that night wrapped in each other's arms, talking quietly about names and plans and dreams for their growing family. When Kora finally fell asleep, her head resting on Zane's chest, he lay awake for a while longer, marveling at how profoundly his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a lonely farmer trying to forget his past through isolation. Now he was a husband, soon to be a father, part of a community that represented hope for a better future. All because he had made one choice to free a chained orc girl and offer her kindness instead of cruelty. The months of Kora's pregnancy passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation. Zane built a cradle from smooth river wood, while Kora sewed tiny clothes with help from the other women in the settlement. Sarah checked on Kora regularly, reassuring them both that everything was progressing normally. The baby would be born in late spring, right when the valley would be at its most beautiful. As Kora's belly grew, so did the community's excitement. Children in Haven were rare and precious, each one celebrated as a symbol of hope and continuity. The fact that this would be one of the first children born to a mixed couple made it even more significant. Kora bloomed during her pregnancy, her skin glowing with health and her spirits high. She continued working in the garden and training the young fighters until her size made it impractical, then shifted to teaching strategy and theory instead. She refused to be treated as fragile, though she allowed Zane to fuss over her more than she normally would. "You are going to be an excellent father," she told him one evening as they sat by the fire, his hand resting on her moving belly. "Look how protective you already are. I cannot help it. You and our child are my entire world. I will do anything to keep you both safe. I know. And I love you for it." Kora shifted, trying to find a comfortable position. "This baby is going to be strong. They kick constantly. Takes after their mother or their father. You are the one who fought off 3 bandits single-handed. With your help, Zane reminded her. We are a team, remember, always. When Kora went into labor on a warm spring morning, Zane thought he might lose his mind with worry. Sarah banished him from the birthing room after he nearly passed out during the first hour, sending him outside with strict instructions to stay out of the way. He paced in front of their house for what felt like an eternity, with Drock and some of the other men trying to distract him with conversation and terrible jokes. Finally, after hours that aged him years, Sarah emerged with a tired but genuine smile. You can come in now. You have a daughter. Zane practically ran into the house. Kora lay in their bed, exhausted but radiant, cradling a tiny bundle wrapped in soft cloth. She looked up as he entered, tears streaming down her face. Come meet your daughter. He approached slowly, almost afraid to breathe, and looked down at the tiny face peeking out from the blankets. Their daughter had green-tinted skin, lighter than Kora's but unmistakably orcish, with delicate features that blended both their heritages. When she opened her eyes, they were the same warm brown as Zane's own. She is perfect, he whispered, gently touching one tiny fist. She is ours, Kora said. What should we name her? They had discussed many names over the months, unable to decide. But looking at their daughter now, Zane knew exactly what felt right. Hope. Her name should be Hope, because that is what she represents: hope for a better future, hope that love can overcome hatred, hope that our peoples can one day live together in peace. Kora smiled through her tears. Hope Marshall, I like that. Welcome to the world, little Hope. You are so loved. The community welcomed Hope with a celebration that lasted 3 days, with gifts and well-wishes pouring in from every household. The children were especially enchanted, taking turns holding the baby under careful supervision, and arguing over who would get to help teach her things as she grew. As the weeks passed and Hope grew stronger, Zane and Kora settled into the exhausting rhythm of new parenthood. Sleepless nights and endless diaper changes were balanced by moments of pure magic. Hope's first smile, the sound of her babbling, the way she would grip their fingers with surprising strength. One evening, when Hope was about 3 months old, Zane sat on the porch holding his daughter while Kora prepared dinner inside. The sun was setting over the valley, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Hope made soft cooing sounds, her eyes tracking the movement of birds in the sky. You know something, little one, Zane said quietly. Your mother and I come from very different worlds. There are people out there who would say we should never have fallen in love, never have married, never have created you. They would call you an abomination, something unnatural and wrong. Hope gurgled, waving her tiny fists. But they would be so very wrong. You are not an abomination. You are a miracle. You are proof that love is stronger than hate, that connection is more powerful than division, that family is not about blood or species but about choice and commitment. He pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Your mother saved me just as much as I saved her. We saved each other, really. And now we get to raise you, to show you all the beauty that exists when people choose understanding over fear. Kora emerged from the house and sat beside him, leaning her head on his shoulder. Talking to Hope again, just telling her some truths, making sure she knows how special she is. She will know. We will make certain of that. Kora reached over to stroke their daughter's cheek. Do you ever regret it, Zane? Giving up your old life, becoming an outcast to your own people? Not for a single moment. My old life was empty. This life, with you and Hope and this community, this is everything I never knew I needed. He turned to kiss her softly. You are my home, Kora. You and Hope. Everything else is just scenery. As night fell over Haven, the small family sat together on their porch, watching stars emerge one by one in the darkening sky. Inside the settlement, lights flickered to life in windows. Smoke rose from chimneys, and the sounds of mixed families settling in for the night drifted on the evening breeze. This was their happily ever after, not a fairy tale ending where everything was perfect, but something better and more real. A life built on choices, strengthened by challenges, and made meaningful through love. Zane had found an orc girl branded with a previous owner's mark, and his reaction had stunned her with its simple kindness. From that one moment of compassion had grown something extraordinary, a partnership, a marriage, a family, and a future full of hope. As Hope dozed off in his arms, Zane thought about how far they had come. From a chance encounter in an abandoned trading station to a home in a hidden valley where love mattered more than species, they had built a life that defied everything the world told them was impossible. They had proven that compassion was stronger than cruelty, that understanding could overcome prejudice, and that two people from different worlds could create something beautiful together. The stars shone brighter, the valley settled into peaceful night, and the Marshall family sat together in the warm glow of the life they had chosen. This was their story, their triumph, their proof that love truly could conquer all. And as Zane looked at his sleeping daughter and his beloved wife, he knew with absolute certainty that every struggle, every sacrifice, every moment of fear and doubt had been worth it to reach this perfect moment of peace and joy and belonging. Their story had begun with chains and brands, with pain and fear and the lowest point of human cruelty. But it ended here, with freedom and love and a child who represented the best possible future. From the ashes of suffering, they had built something that would endure, a family, a home, a love that would outlast them both and ripple forward into generations yet to come. And in the morning, when Hope woke them with her hungry cries, when they faced another day of the beautiful, mundane work of building their life together, they would do it with full hearts and grateful souls, knowing that they had found something rare and precious and worth every price they had paid. They had found each other, and in doing so, had found themselves. That was the real magic, the true miracle, not that a human and an orc had fallen in love, but that two broken people had healed each other and built something whole.